जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय राधा गोपीनाथ राधे राधा गोपीनाथ राधे। जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद। नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल। श्री राधा गोपीनाथ की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्य गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna, everyone. And firstly, I would like to welcome everyone to today's discussion, which will be part 1 of 2, continuing on tomorrow. So today we'll be continuing on with this sequence of discussing great personalities. But today we'll be discussing a very special personality. So this personality is equal in supremacy with Krishna. who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this personality appears as the brother of Krishna, sometimes younger, sometimes older. And as everyone has probably already guessed just by saying brother of Krishna, we're going to be talking about Sri Balram. So before I begin, I thank and offer my humble obeisances to everyone for giving me this opportunity to speak on such a beautiful topic of Lord Balaram. If I do happen to make any mistakes, please forgive me. Before we start, we'll start with Mangalacharan. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagna Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavalebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Bhute Matpiriyama Puro Vibhu Nirmaya Shaite Yadamushu Purusha Bhungte Gunansho Dashasho Dashatmaka Sholam Shishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me Shri Krishna Sharanam Sharanagatam Katha Amritam Satata Pibatam Bhakti Vedanta Marga Panthanam Sarvaloka Rishi Deva Janna Prasannam Sarvaloka Rishi Deva Janna Prasannam. Sorry, so Hare Krishna. So as I've already said, so this evening's discussion will be on Sri Balram. So today I'll be discussing the identity of Balram. So the word Balram is split into two words, Bala and Rama. So Bala means the abode of unlimited spiritual strength, and Rama means abode of unlimited spiritual pleasure. So without Lord Balaram, it is not possible to take any steps or even take up a spiritual life. So now, initially when I was preparing for this class, when we talk about great personalities, the first thing that comes to our mind is pastimes. Krishna pastimes, Balaram pastimes, beautiful Vraj pastimes. But while listening to a class, I understood that before diving into pastimes, to actually understand the identity of these personalities. So we're going to understand the identity of Balaram before we dive into some of his pastimes. Now, we might think, why does the identity play such a big part? But the fact is that there's so many beautiful pastimes to also gain insight from. But identity is one thing which helps us get more attached to the personality. For example, so the fact is that if we give up this Tatra Siddhanta of trying to understanding the identity of a personality, then our mind won't get attached to that personality or won't get attached to Krishna. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Siddhanta balya chitte na kara alas, iha ha ete Krishna lage sudhrada manas. So he says, na kara alas. Now, anyone in Hindi, alas means lazy. So, alsi, they say. So, na kara alas means don't get lazy. Now, when he says this, he says, "Na kara alas," don't get lazy, and then he says, "Iha ha ete Krishna lage sudhrada manas." Now, in this sentence, in this thing, he says sudhrada. So dhrada itself is he doesn't say dhrada, he says sudhrada, which means your mind will not only be attached, but will be firmly attached. Sudhrada. So if we hear the identity, for example, I'll give let's say example of someone famous everyone knows. Let's say some famous cricket player. Now that person, we hear about him on the television. We see him on the television. We hear about him through friends, through family, through newspapers, through articles. Now we feel like we know this person. But the fact is, we don't know that person unless we've actually talked to them, unless we understand where that person is coming from, what their values are, how that person is living day-to-day life, and also how is he succeeding in his or her particular way of life. Now, that is an example. Like we will not be attached. If we are lazy, we will not be attached. So, for example, an example was given that Parikshit Maharaj, he had 7 days to live, and Sukadev Goswami, he didn't say that, oh, because you only have 7 days, I'll just give you a rundown, a condensed version of Srimad Bhagavatam, and that's it. No, he still went through the first 4 days, doing the first 9 cantos, and then so on. So we see that he wasn't lazy as such. So, Siddhanta Baliya Chitte Na Kara. So in this discussion today and tomorrow, we'll to understand the identity of Balaram as described by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the 5th chapter of Adi Leela in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this chapter is this chapter 5 in Adi Leela is actually named "The Glories of Lord Nityananda Balaram." So if we go to verse number 4 of this chapter, it says, Sarvavatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan Tanahara Dvita Deha Shri Balaram Ek hi swarupa done bina matra kaya Adhikaya Vihua Krishna Leela Rasahaya. It says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the fountainhead of all incarnations. Lord Ram is the second body. These two are one and the same identity. They differ only in form. Now, Lord Balram is the first bodily expansion of Krishna, and he assists in Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes. Now, Balram is a Swamsa expansion of the Lord, and therefore there is no difference between the potency of Krishna and Balaram. The only difference between them is their bodily structure. As the first expansion of Godhead, Balaram is the chief deity among the 4 first quadruple forms, and he is the foremost assistant of Sri Krishna in his transcendental activities. Now, what this means is that the Supreme Lord has many manifestations. In Brahma Samhita chapter 5, verse 46. Shivahi Dashataram Abhyupetya Dipapati Vritta Hetu Samana Dharma Yastarageva Hi Cha Vishnu Tayaya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The light of one candle being communicated to other candles, although it burns separately in them, is the same in its quality. I adore the premier Lord Govinda, who exhibits himself equally in the same mobile manner in his various manifestations. Now, that was verse 46. In verse 39, it also says that Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, Vamana, Pashuram, these unlimited forms, they are all called as avatar, which means to descend. Now, in a pastime of Kaliya, we see that Krishna he climbs on top of a branch on a tree, and he ties his hair, his waistcloth, he pats his arms, his thighs, he gets ready to jump into the water. And interestingly, at this point, Sukadev Goswami, he doesn't call him Krishna. He doesn't call Krishna Krishna. He calls him Avatar. Now, we might think that he could have called Krishna by any one of his transcendental names, or any. There's so many names that he has. He could have used any one of them, but rather he uses Avatar. But why? Why did he use the word avatar? Now, our acharyas explain that what does an avatar do? An avatar is someone who protects the devotees. An avatar is someone who destroys the demons. An avatar is someone who establishes peace. And that's exactly what Krishna was going to do. He jumped into Yamuna to protect Yamuna. He jumped into Yamuna to also destroy Kalya. And he also jumped into Yamuna to restore peace. So Krishna is showing that I am jumping into Yamuna. This is a big example for the rest of the incarnations. Krishna is showing that I am jumping into Yamuna. That is the same way my incarnations are jumping into the material world. Paritrayana sadhu. Sorry. Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya chadushkritam. So avatar means one who descends for those reasons. For Paritnaya, Vinashaya, and Dharmastapana. For those who are for protecting the devotees, for destroying demons, and for re-establishing peace. But there is an original. Now, what I mean by this is that original being is called Avatari. Now, Avatar means an incarnation who jumps in, whereas an Avatari means the root of all incarnation. Now, a very beautiful example for this point is for example, let's say there's 10 ghee lamps. They're all lit up and they all look very beautiful. Now, at one point, there was 9 lit, and there was 9 unlit, and there was only 1 lit lamp. Now, that one lit up lamp was used to light all the other 9 lit. So now, when they're all lit together, they all look the same. But before they were lit, there was only one, the initial one. So once they're all, the unlit ones are all the avatar, and the initial one is avatari. So Sukadev Goswami describes all of them. Ete kamsa kalapumsa krishnastu bhagavan swayam amsa and kala. So he says, Ete kamsa kalapumsam. Amsa means portion and kala means a portion from that portion. Ete kamsa kala pumsam. Out of all these portions of these portions, out of all these incarnations of incarnations, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Sukadev Goswami says that Krishna is the origin. He is the supremely original form. Krishna is Swayam Roop. Now, where is he Swayam Roop? He is Swayam Roop in Vrindavan. Now, Krishna is Purna in Dwarika, which means he's complete in Dwarika. Krishna is Purnatara, which means more complete in Mathura. But Krishna is Purnatama, most complete in Vrindavan. This is his natural state. He's Swayam Rupa. Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. Now, there are 2 basic expansions given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. One is Prabhava Prakash and one is Vaibhav Prakash. So Prabhav Prakash is that expansion which has the same complexion, which has the same form, and has the same mood as Krishna. And an example of this is Krishna himself manifesting into unlimited forms to dance with all the gopis. Same mood, same complexion, same form, looking exactly the same. That is Prabhav Prakash. Now, they all have the bluish black complexion. They all have the same mood. Now, when the complexion is different and the mood is different, then it's Vaibhav Prakash. And the best classic example of Vaibhav Prakash is Balram. Now, we might think that if they're the same, how are they different? Now, it's how the characteristics of what makes them different. For example, Balram, his form is different. He doesn't play the flute. He doesn't have the same complexion. Krishna is like bluish black. He's like it is explained like a bluish monsoon complexion. Rather, Balram is explained like he looks like a white cotton ball. He's beautiful and white, and it is said that the color white is actually ashamed because Balram is even more white. So we see that they're different yet the same. Very famous saying, same but different. So Krishna, it is explained, Krishna is very crooked. And we see this in all his leelas, in everything that we have read, that Krishna is very crooked. He's crooked in the way he would glance. He's crooked in the way he would talk, in the way he would walk. And he would say something, mean something else. He's very cheeky. And another example we see in Damodar Lila, very funnily, it is said that Krishna, when Mother Yashoda was running after him, he didn't just run in a straight line. He ran like crooked, that Mother Yashoda wouldn't be able to catch him. So Balram wasn't like this. So Krishna is crooked, but why? For us, how can we accept that he's crooked? Now, there's an example. Let's say that I have a water bottle, and there's a crooked thing that I have, an object, which I want to fit inside this water bottle, but it doesn't fit. Now, if I put it on top and I push it in, once it goes in, it'll be hard to come back out. That's like Krishna. Once Krishna enters our heart, he won't leave. I'll explain this further along as well, but it's the crookedness of him that keeps him in our heart. Now, Balram's form is different. Balram's mood is different. Krishna has a Svaya Abhiman, which means everyone should serve me. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mataha sarvam pravartate. I am the source of all material and spiritual worlds. Nobody is equal or greater to me. He is speaking the truth to the world, that I am the all-worshipable Lord. But Balram doesn't have Sevya Abhiman. He has Sevak Abhiman. He has the mood of serving Krishna. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he describes these two. So there's Prabhav and Vaibhav Prakash. So Prabhav is same mood, same complexion. Vaibhav Prakash is different mood, different complexion. And for example, Vaibhav Prakash, like we've gone through, is Balaram. So Balram and Krishna are non-different. Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan. It says that it doesn't say Sarva Avatar Krishna like we explained before. It says Sarva Avatari. It says Sarva Avatari. So it says that Krishna is the root of everything. Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan. Tanahara Dvita Deha Shri Balaram says that Krishna is the root of everything. Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. And then Tanahara Dvita Deha Shri Balaram. Same as Krishna, Krishna and Balaram are the same. But the first expansion of Krishna, which is Balram, comes to the world to teach us something. And that's the teachings of how to serve. The first expansion from Krishna is Balram, and he comes to teach us. Sorry, I'm repeating myself, but he comes to teach us how to serve. He is a living example. Nowadays, we cannot understand this sort of philosophy because until we see someone else doing it, we cannot follow. And in that sense, if it was just philosophy written, we wouldn't understand it. And these beautiful purports that Prabhupada and everyone has like composed, they're so beautifully written so that we can understand all this. Now, this isn't like us. Balram is, Krishna is manifesting as Balram to give a practical demonstration to the world that this is how you show surrender. This is how you serve. Balram is always serving. He's always looking for service. Unlike us, we're a little bit more different. It is explained there's a few different types of bhaktas, devotees. one is an arrow devotee. An arrow devotee is one that once the arrow leaves the bow, it never comes back. For example, someone goes to another devotee, says, Prabhuji, how can I serve you? And he says, oh, bring me a plate of fruit. Well, once he hears plate of fruit, he leaves, but never comes back. So that's an arrow devotee, is an arrow bhakta. So the second one is a honeybee bhakta. And what does a honeybee do? It flies from one flower to another flower to another flower to another flower. Goes to one devotee. It says, Prabhuji, how can I serve you? Then asks for service. Then goes to the next devotee, asks for service. Goes to the third devotee, asks for service. And then one after another forgets every service but doesn't complete any of it, but has been to all of them. Now, the third type of devotee is an ant devotee. Now, this devotee is a funny type of devotee. Let's say an ant is crawling up a wall, and this ant has been given some sort of surface. So now, let's say he said, "Go bring me a plate of fruit." This ant bumps into another ant, and he tells the other devotee, "Go complete this service." And that ant bumps into another ant, tells that other ant, go finish this, go do this service. So no one actually completes the service. It gets continued on ant by ant. They keep bumping into each other. Now, the fourth one is the astrologer devotee. Now, this one's also a very funny one. This devotee is always asking questions. Let's say, can you go to the shop and get something? Now, this devotee would be like, but what if the car doesn't work? Or what if this happens to me on the way to the shops? What if the shop doesn't take credit card? Different sort of queries in this person's mind, is always asking questions. And then eventually the person who asked for the service will say, you sit here, I'll go get it. So it's very funny in that way. Now, when we think of service, the first person who we think of initially is Lakshman. Now, Lakshman is always there for service. Now, it says in Ramayana, Vatsaram Dhanush Bhashya, that Vishwamitra Muni was told Ram that go look at the bow. And if Ram took that instruction, went, looked at the bow, understood what he had to do, completed his action, and then he was just standing there and he sees people like the wedding and everything's getting prepared, and Ram is like, I just followed my Muni's, my master's command. I don't know anything about this marriage, what's happening here. And if it was us in that scenario, and Vishwamitra Muni said, Vatsaram Dhanush Bhashya, go look at the bow. We would go look at the bow and then walk back, sit on our seat. Okay, done. And that's one example of this. Now, the second example of this, that's so first class people is like Ramchandra, who went, completed, and came back. Second class people would be people who go look at the Dhanush and come back and sit down. And then there's people like me who are third class people. When Vishwamitra Muni says, go, Vatsaram Dhanush Bhashya, go look at the Dhanush, I'd be like, why would I need to go look at the Dhanush? Can't you ask someone else to look at the Dhanush? And constantly complaining like we are in Kali Yuga. And why don't you find someone else to look at the Dhanush? Why do I have to go look at the Dhanush? Always complaining, not listening. Now, at this point, Lakshman, so as we know, Ramchandra, he never bows down, and Sita Mata was there with the garland, and Lakshman saw what was happening here, and that little one split second, he noticed, oh, I can serve Lord Ram here. Jumped into the feet of Lord Ram and said, I am eternally your servant. And Ram had to pick up, and then Sita Mata quickly put the garland over. So we see that little second where Lakshman noticed, that's it, service is available, jump straight into it. We see this is Balram. Balram is always serving. Even if a job is, let's say, 99.8% done, he would still enthusiastically go, complete, and finish the remainder off. The remaining service he would still complete with the same amount of pleasure as he did for the 99.8. So we need to understand that this mood of service is so hard to develop, and it can only be done through bhakti. If nowadays service is such a underrated thing. It's not appreciated at all. For example, I'll give an example. Let's say your father. If you go to your father and you start serving him, someone now in Kali Yuga. Firstly, you wake up in the morning, you're standing next to your father with your food ready, everything is ready. You do everything for him. He doesn't have to do. Now, the father is probably thinking in this era that something's wrong with him. What does he want? He's not just serving me just for the sake of serving me. He needs something. He's not just doing this out of the goodwill of his heart. That doesn't happen nowadays. So that service, if nowadays is considered crazy, why are you helping someone else when you're not helping yourself? And that is completely like not just disappointing but wrong. And we can see this in our general everyday to-day life, that when you serve someone and just out of the goodwill of your heart, they'll be surprised. They'll be like, oh, you actually helped me, rather than you serve me, everyone serves each other. No, it's nowadays it's that whole thing that I work for myself and I'll serve myself. I'll serve my senses. Rather than if I go help someone else, then I'll help them. They'll give me pleasure. No, none of that. So Lord Balram serves Krishna in all 5 rasas. So there's 5 rasas. There's Shanta rasa, Dasya rasa, Vatsalya rasa, Sakhya rasa, and Madhurya rasa. So in Shanta rasa, when he becomes the ornaments, he becomes the dress, he becomes the pillow, he becomes the umbrella, the bed for the Lord. Any sort of thing that helps him, he becomes. Dasya rasa, he's always engaged as a servant of the Lord, helping Krishna to steal butter, massaging his lotus feet when he wants to take rest underneath a tree in the middle of the day, always helping as a servant. Vatsalya rasa, when Krishna is going to the banks of Yamuna, Balram warned him not to go there, that Kaliya was there. Complaining also to Mother Yashoda when Krishna would eat mud or when Krishna would do something. This is all in Vatsalya rasa. Next is Sakhya rasa. He would tease Krishna. He would be in that friendly mood, behavior. And then the last one is Madhurya rasa, which is where Balram expands himself as the sister of Radha to serve Krishna. Now, Rupa Goswami explains that the Vrindavan Dham is actually in the shape of a lotus. Now, what happens to a lotus when there's sunrise or sunset? The lotus closes, opens up and closes, opens up and closes. So what this means is that the Dham itself, Vrindavan, can contract or expand whenever. So in Shantarasa, I'll give you an example of this, how this lotus works. In Shantarasa, when demons are approaching Krishna, the flower, the lotus opens up. So let's say it's closed and it opens up, which makes a big distance between Krishna and the demon. It increases the distance, so it helps Krishna. Rupa Goswami explains this. And when we think about it, like this realization is so amazing when think about that. A lotus flower is closed. When demons approach, it opens up just to make more time, more distance between Krishna and the demon. Now, if just to even think about, just to comprehend this sort of thing is very amazing. It's very there's no words for it. Another example given to us by our acharyas was when Krishna had to go lift Govardhan. Now, how did Krishna get to Govardhan so quickly and without getting wet or without getting swept away with the storm waters or anything like that? At that point, it is commented that the Dham actually contracted, allowing Krishna to get to Govardhan quickly. Now, this is Vraj. This is Vraja Leela. Another example is in Dasya Rasa, when Krishna is sweating, Balram is fanning Krishna. This is a form of service. He is helping Krishna through like the hot weather. Now, if let's say you meet your friend and it's a very, very hot day, you're sitting next to each other and you start fanning him. First response, I can guarantee this, first response he'll give to you is, what happened? Why are you doing this? Why aren't you fanning yourself? What's wrong with you? Like it's not a natural tendency nowadays to serve. even though it's as humans, that's what our natural tendency is, to serve. When you serve someone, the pleasure that you get, the pleasure that you develop, it's incomparable. It's not pleasure. It's just the satisfaction of helping someone else. Now, that is a service mood of Balaram. Balaram doesn't appear as Balram. Sorry, Balram appears to serve. That is his appearance. Why he appeared. Now, he doesn't only appear as Balram. He also appears as Lakshman. Now, in the avatar of Ramchandra, Sri Balram appears as his younger brother Lakshman. And what was Lakshman's constant meditation? Like we've all watched Ramayana on TV or read it, simply to be the servant of Ram, always wanting to serve. That is Lakshman's constant meditation. He is always anxious to serve. He always wants to be doing service. So a pastime. It is described that there's a story. When Sita Mata, when she arrived, when she married Ram and they went back to Ayodhya, she wanted to have a nice, intimate Leela with Ram and do nice services for him. But wherever she was, Lakshman was right there. He was guarding Ram with his bow and arrow and anything that Ram needed. He was, before Ramchandra could even think of anything, Lakshman would be there with it. He anticipated it and he would bring the thing. Now, at that stage, we think, okay, this is very nice. He's a loving brother. Nowadays, for example, the same thing for my, let's say my sister, for example. First response, again, will be, what happened? Why are you being so nice? What do you want? Catch here. And it's the same response that we all have nowadays. That what do you want? Always for that selfish desire that we have. We never want to serve just out of goodwill. Now, so Lakshman would bring everything, would do everything for Ram. And then Sita was thinking that I can't even be alone with my own husband. I have nothing to do for him because Lakshman is already doing everything. And he said that it is said that when she approached Ram and told him that maybe you can tell Lakshman to go somewhere else and do something else. And Ramchandra was thinking, how can I do this? He'll be angry. So he was thinking that how can I do that? If I take Sita's side, then Lakshman will be angry. But if I take Lakshman's side, then Sita will be angry. So he couldn't make a decision in this regard. So he said, let us take this to our guru, Vishishta Muni. So this is that was the function of a guru, to make decisions when the decisions that nobody likes to make. So it's not an easy job. So Rama and Lakshman and Sita, they all went to Vishishta Muni, and Ram said, everyone, both of you tell Vishishta Muni what is your problem. So Sita said that I married Sri Ram, and I took care of him 24 hours a day, and I would never leave him. I would always want to be in service, but I cannot keep my vow because Lakshman, he's doing everything. He's not letting me do anything. Now, again, we come back to now. If someone is doing everything and we still, let's say there's a job and one person is completing a 2-person job by himself, the second person will just, sit back, just relax, and wouldn't want anything to do with that person because he's already doing it and he's willingly doing it. Now, that mood of I want to also serve was only found in that time. Nowadays, that mood doesn't exist. Now, Lakshman, and then again, Lakshman also that Lakshman was asked what happened, and Lakshman said, from the day I was born, I'm serving Ram like this, and this is all that I know. I have nothing else in my life, and how can she take away my service? So again, it's two people fighting each other over service. I don't think I've ever seen that here in Kali Yuga or in just our day-to-day life. It's very rare where two people are even when people argue over service, one person usually backs down. these two both want service so eagerly, they're so into like the service there that they're both wanting to resolve by coming to Vashisht Muni. Now, Vashisht Muni, he had to try to satisfy everyone. So he explained to them that whenever Ramchandra is home in his private chambers, Sita should be in charge of all services. And whenever he leaves the home, he goes out to fight battles or goes to the state house, then Lakshman should always be there and just serve. So Sita was very happy, but Lakshman was not happy at all. Now, let's say I have so many jobs to complete, and someone takes some of those jobs away from me. I'll be very happy. It's the truth. Anyone would be happy if a job is taken away from you or some sort of service is taken away at that point, because it's less stress on you. But in this, we see that Lakshman is very happy. And because this is Balram, this is Sri Balram, Lakshman just simply, he just had no other purpose to his existence except to please Sri Ram and to serve Sri Ram. So this mentality of always having service mentality is something that's really hard to have in life. So yeah. So next was when he appeared as Nityananda Prabhu. He comes as the same mood as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He comes in the mood, comes to beg. And it is said that Nityananda Prabhu is the best transcendental beggar. He goes door to door. He begs people to chant Gauranga. He just keeps begging people that please chant Gauranga, and in return I'll serve you with all my heart. I'll do whatever you want. I'll provide you service. All you have to do is chant Gauranga. Now, again, I'll bring it back with an example of this era. If someone at our door, or even on a phone call, let's say we see all these scam calls nowadays, but let's say on a phone call, someone comes and calls you and says, someone outside the door, says that, please chant this, and in return, I'll give you anything. I'll serve you with all my heart. I'll do whatever you want. And just let me just chant this. Our first response will be, sorry, I'm not interested, close the door, that's it, done, pack up. It's that sort of thing could only again happen in that era, that going door to door, begging people with all your heart to chant Gauranga in return by serving them with all his heart. So in another pastime, I'm not going to go through this pastime fully because it's a very long one, maybe tomorrow if we have time, but Lakshman made a promise while performing this pastime that he found that he was very frustrated while performing this pastime, and he said that I'm never going to be a younger brother again. He has too much trouble, too much surrender, and in the next incarnation I'm going to be Rama's older brother. So next incarnation we know he appears as Balram. He's the older brother of Krishna. And then at that point, he did this so that if Krishna told him something and he liked it, he would do it. But if Krishna told him something he didn't like, then he would take the role of Vatsalya Rasa as a parent and say to Krishna that, Krishna, I'm sorry, but not like that. So, for example of this, at the start of the battle of Kurukshetra, for some, again, we can't understand these sort of things, but for some inconceivable, merciful reason, Balram was dear friends with Duryodhan. And it is said that a Vaishnava, it's very difficult to understand how this happened. So it says, Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vijneha Na Bhujaya, that Balram is the original guru, and it is said that don't try to understand the mind of your guru, just try to follow his instructions. So here is the original guru. He is the teacher of Duryodhan. He used to teach him how to fight with a club, and he was his favorite student, Duryodhan was. So when the battle of Kurukshetra started, Krishna took the side of the Pandavas, and Balram could not take the side of the Pandavas, because if he took side with the Pandavas, he would be against his favorite student Duryodhan. But if he took the if he took the other side, then he would be fighting against Krishna. So he didn't want to fight against Krishna or Duryodhan. So when he doesn't want to fight from one side, he doesn't want to fight from the other side. There's no third side. So Balram said that I'm not going to have anything to do with this foolish war. I'm going on pilgrimage, and I am your older brother. You cannot tell me what to do. Because at this point, Krishna wanted Balram to fight for his side. So he said, no, I'm going, I'm going to go all the way around India. I'm going to pray, and that's it. So during this whole battle of Kurukshetra, we see that we don't hear a word about Balram. He wasn't anywhere around. He went to all the holy places in the north, in the south, everywhere. And he heard that the whole war was finished, and then he came to Kurukshetra to see. So we find how Balram in Vrindavan is called upon the name of Dauji, and Dauji means older brother. But we must understand that all of these beautiful leelas, they've been orchestrated for the pleasure of the Lord. So, for example, in the spiritual world, there are infinite variations, and all these variations are simply expressions of love for Krishna and his devotees, and expressions of love for devotees for Krishna and for Krishna for devotees. That was very poorly explained, but yeah. One more time. So simply expressions of love for Krishna by his devotees, and for the devotees by Krishna. Now, simply by if I said that simply by sitting in one place and receiving Srimad Bhagavatam, like hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, one can attain Krishna. If one was told this, everyone would be doing it. But if we were told that we have to perform 108 Govardhan parikramas to attain Krishna, we still might do it. But on the other hand, if we had these two options, second option is that we have to sit in one spot and just listen to Srimad Bhagavatam. Most of us would take the second option because, like I said, that at the start, that we are alsi, we are lazy, alas, that we want to be sitting to get the most out of what we can just by sitting, rather than 108 rounds of Govardhan. So imagine this, that there's a knock on the door, and your house is dirty, and when the person outside is not your best friend. Okay, so someone knocked on the door, not your best friend, and your house is extremely dirty, clothes on the floor. Just you know what I mean. Everyone has a dirty house at one point in life. So a dirty house. Now, when that guest, most of the time, when that guest will come in, because he's not your best friend, he'll be like, "Oh, what a beautiful house you have," even if he doesn't like it, because he sees it everywhere. Now, that same person, when he leaves your house, he will never come back because he knows how dirty your house is. But then he will also tell other people about how dirty it is, and then so on. Just as a point, when a guest comes over, most of the time, it's not mostly about cleaning, it's about hiding. Where can I hide all this stuff? I'll put it behind the sofa, I'll chuck it in my cupboard, and hopefully they don't look behind the sofa or open up my cupboard. So it's the same way like that. That most of the time, it's not about. So your best friend is enters the house. They say it's very beautiful. They leave, never come back. Tell everyone that your house is dirty. Now, if the same thing happens with your best friend entering your house and they see you cleaning, first thing they will do, roll up the sleeves and start cleaning with you, because that's what best friends are for. They start cleaning with you. You start cleaning. Now, our ears are like the doors. Our body is like the house, our house, and our heart is our bedroom, which is the most dirtiest place. Okay, so when our doors, let's say mundane things are entering our doors, it's like a temporary guest. It stays for a bit and then leaves and never comes back. But then another temporary thing comes, leaves. This continues. But now, let's say our ever well-wishing best friend, Krishna, knocks on the door, enters our ears through Krishna Katha. We let him in. And he comes into our heart. He cleans. He cleans the heart. He makes you sit down and he cleans. This is Krishna Katha's potency, that we see. We just need to allow him to enter our ears. We need to allow him to enter our heart, or he's already in our heart. We just need to allow him to expand, and he will clean. He will not let you clean. He will clean himself. Like I said with the bottle example before, Krishna is very crooked. Let's say our heart is like the bottle. Once we force him, we push him into our heart. He goes into our heart. There's no way of coming back out because he's still crooked. So, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, chapter 5, verse number 16, the Rasa Muni says to Amrish Maharaj, Yannama Shruti Matrena Puma Bhavati Nirmalaha Tasya Tirtha Pada Kimva Dasanam Avishishyate. That what is the impossible for the servants of the Lord? By hearing of his holy name, one is purified. Just by hearing the holy name, one is purified. So we see this beautiful verse that in Canto 9, chapter 5, the Rasa Muni is saying to Amrish Maharaj that just by hearing the holy name, one is purified. Now, in our modern day, see that in previous times, that they would have to perform rigorous tapasya, rigorous amounts of just praying and rigorous amounts of everything just to get that little taste of Krishna, or just to get that little taste. At that point, if we had to perform that in this era, it's impossible. Now, through the mercy of Krishna, through the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, through the mercy of our gurus, our everyone, through Srila Prabhupada, we've been given this easy solution that just chant, listen to Srimad Bhagavatam, and follow all the regulated principles, and that's your one-way ticket up. There's no ticket back. They can't because of like the virus, they can't send you back to your own country. No, once you're there, you get citizenship, and that's it. You're there for life, for forever. Now, in this time of COVID-19, it really makes us think about the power that we actually have as humans, as human beings. We have no power. Within 20 to 30 seconds, 2 years ago, something happened, and now the whole world is paying for that thing. And we see that we are just beings on this earth, just here like little puppets. We're just being played around with, and we think we're controlling everything. I remember Bhaktivikas Swami Maharaj actually gave this example once, that who are you sitting in your little house, in your little street, in your little country, on this little planet, in this little galaxy, in this little universe, which is one of millions and billions of universes, saying that you have any sort of power. We have nothing. That's why if we want to achieve something through this process of bhakti, we need to be chanting. We need to be constantly chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, Hare Krishna. So please continue to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, so that Krishna can enter these doors, and hopefully through some rigorous cleaning products and everything, we can clean this dirty heart of ours. So we'll continue with Balram Katha tomorrow as well. So thank you for everyone, whoever listened, for listening attentively. So thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Chaitanya Charitamrita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you.